Now, what does a film studio island need? Film sets. And believe it or not, after months of working on this island, it's finally time to build those. Or aka this is yet another excuse to live out my hyperfixations. There's space for more or less 2 different film sets, and for quite a while I successfully procrastinated having to make a choice, but now the moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. No one was really waiting, it just sounds really cool when you say that. For weeks and months now, I have been working away, hustling and grinding to turn this piece of land into a successful business. We've got sound stages, hair and makeup, costume design, post-production, a sound department, and more. And unsurprisingly, the available space is getting less and less, so it's time to finally lock in. Our first film set will go in this very back left corner and be inspired by Wicked. More specifically, the enchanted forest that you see in the Wicked movie with its looping vines, and of course that lovely tech background. For the sake of better planning, I also went ahead and prepared a little mood board highlighting some of the item choices, and I once again put my artistic skill to use to create a quick little sketch. We'll add in some type of backdrop to make room for all the lights, and then have vines, trees, and flowers to the front with a nice little camera setup. And there's really not much more to say, but tons to do, so let's head to the site. You can see all of this emptiness, right? Let's get started. But first, a little bit of cleaning. And now to the storage I go. So I got some of these stadium lights because I feel like having those in the background will be fantastic. And then the other thing that I definitely do have is construction scaffoldings. So I think these are gonna mostly work as my backdrop. Now, obviously the space that we do have here is a little bit limited. So the first thing I wanted to do is kind of check the height of both the construction scaffolding and the stadium lights. Obviously, if you're standing here just taking a picture, I think this works really well. I think trees might cover it up though. Perhaps we just need to bring it to the next level in every sense of the word, of course. Oh, Tasha is here to observe the space, but let's see about these trees. Okay, yeah, it kind of works because the lights are still visible above the trees. Higher up might still be better though. And now look at that. Humphrey seems to be on his way to the area. Oh, and who do we have here? Walker and okay. I don't know if I should be watching this right now. They were pretending like nothing happened, but I definitely saw. I think everyone saw. Now they're being casual about it, but Agnes is definitely yearning. Tasha, did you see that? Tasha, I feel like you as HR should be aware of canoodling. Perhaps we try another layer, one little strip of landscaping just so we can put like the items up top. Okay, and then I definitely want to see the different versions of construction scaffoldings. Did I not grab a green one? Wow, this is starting off really well. Yeah, okay, because it would just provide like a lot of height, right? And then so that we can judge this fully. It's actually not like that much taller, but it's kind of nice because it adds this like structure above the lights. We could extend this a little bit further. And then the other thing I wanted to see is if I put up a cliff here as like a viewing platform, I'm gonna have to hide it behind branding. Exactly. Let's say we're gonna put like a camera and a director's chair up here, and then this is gonna be just to get a different angle. Oh, yes, that's what I want. I'm gonna go all in for this. And so we're gonna bring this across like the entire width of the set, I guess. It also should be dividable by 2 because of the construction scaffolding item. So it would have to be at least like this. If we do the platform here, we might have to go like 2 more cliff pieces. Oh yeah, okay, see now it would take up the entire space. So maybe the viewing platform, which kind of negates my attempts to keep it all within one frame, but maybe the viewing platform more like moves here. Maybe like this. And then this is kind of where it's like sectioned off. Okay, where am I on the map right now? Would that work? Yeah, easily. I know, Tasha, you're judging, right? I know. She is going over to evaluate. But like this would still work too. Maybe one more tile towards the left. Okay, but back to the color of construction scaffolding I want to use. So the options are none, blue, green, which we'll try out, gray, white, or orange, but we're not gonna do that one. Oh, Humphrey is busy today. And then we got Flurry, relaxing. You know, I thought I gave them jobs. They still don't really do much, do they? Okay, here's the green version. I kind of like that there is something, right? Okay, let me try the white. That's tough. I don't think it's gonna be white, is it? I probably prefer either the green or the blue. Yeah, I got rid of the trees. Now I kind of want to test them again. Yeah, because like that is a ton of green. Okay, we're still in the testing phase. This is fine. Flurry is still relaxing, and then we'll go and get some flowers. Aw, Walker is running because he's a runner. Get it? And then after an almost breakdown, oh God, I don't know if I can make this decision. I decided to go with the blue scaffoldings. Oh yeah, that's a massive set. Oh yes. Watch the space because I think it'll be good. Right, for now we're gonna get the trees back to where they were supposed to be. And then obviously we're gonna be removing these cliffs. And then after I averted this crisis, there was a lot of consultation with the lighting directors to make sure the set would have sufficient lighting, obviously. And there was a lot of back and forth, but we did end up finding a solution. Let this be it. Please, let this be it. Let me be happy with this for once. Yeah, I like how the lights end, but then there's still a bit of scaffolding left over. Okay, do I want to fully commit to this platform now? Maybe let's do it and let's turn it into a 3x3 platform. So now that we've established the backdrop, I think it might make sense to have like a focus point. And I'm currently thinking about the giant vine because it gives me kind of those magic tree vibes. Let's just see what that looks like because I think it's good. Yeah. Yeah, and then maybe towards the back, we create more of like a greenery vibe. We're gonna treat maybe the vine as like a backdrop sort of thing. So the path doesn't have to like go all around it. We're just maybe gonna create something from like here to, let's say, just somewhere in front. Kind of goes like around, sort of like back here, and then just kind of like end up right there. Okay, let me go up on the platform. See that? Yep. So it's like sort of circles around this vine. We're gonna have to have some trees here though. I think we're gonna go for just hardwood, right? I'll just go ahead and plant a few and then I do think we'll have to move them around. And then maybe these ladders here can go on the side of the platform. And I also brought the promised branding. Okay, but maybe that platform does need to be pushed back, but I'll decide that later. Okay, but look at this. I really like it. Now we just need to grow some trees. Oh my God. And Tasha is right there with us. She heard us. She heard us come on set. She was like, oh, here I am. I'm also gonna check everything. Oh, Marlo is here today too. And he's wearing his glasses. Oh my God. 2 of the rocks have spawned here again. Oh, Zealous is gonna take a little nap, isn't he? Yeah. So much for having a job. Okay, let's install the missing construction scaffolding. We're gonna need some different tree sizes. I'm gonna just stunt this one in the center, but I feel like we're gonna move these around a lot. Maybe this one too. Okay, here we are. Why don't we get started with laying the path? I'm gonna just go over like the corners exactly how I had it here. I think there's probably gonna be some changes though. Oh my God, see? Tasha. Here again, of course. She's always close by. She's always making sure everything's going according to plan, which I guess I appreciate. But at the same time, you know, isn't she my employee technically? Why is she pretending like I can't handle this? Maybe I can't, all right? That's fair, but still. Okay, see, this is really windy. I might want to bring this out here instead. I think it works. It might make sense to just do a bit of dirt towards the front here too, where like maybe this is where the cameras are. People have kind of trampled over the grass there a bunch of times because they needed to set up the cameras and stuff. Oh my God, look at her. Like, have a bit of faith in me, please, Tasha. Okay, and then I just want to see what does it look like if there is a big tree just behind this vine. No, I think that's good. And then here we could perhaps try to do like a small one. Okay, I think this here could be maybe also a fully grown one. Tasha is unbelievable. Okay. I think that's okay, right? I believe we're gonna have like a third stage just in front of me here. Ooh, wow. The flower may be there. Oh yeah, I think that might work. And I think I want another one of those flowers maybe towards like the front here. And maybe I need to bring in some more of the vines as well for some more enchanted forest feeling. Maybe we try that one in between the stadium lights right there. So it kind of would be here, correct? And then it would just like peek out. Then let's try maybe another vine right there. I have a feeling. Oh. Oh, okay. I like that. And then maybe this is a tree. This is going to be good. Oh, Zell has joined us. Oh my God. And he's dancing and singing again. Let me see this for a second. Okay, I'm loving the flower because it just kind of looks like the flower is coming out in between the trees. I do think we might need to bring in some cedar trees though. No, because I like the vine there generally, I think. Is this the place? Oh, okay, wait. See, for that one, we'd have to push the vine away actually. Maybe this is the tree standy spot. Don't love that it's the same height though. I don't know. Let's say I had the flower here before, right? What if I bring that back? Okay, that makes the standee a little bit better. If we have a flower there, I do really think we need a third one. Perhaps here? Also, definitely another tree standee. It's a bit too obvious is my problem, I think. Okay, let's definitely make this one here fully grown though. Better, 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 better. We're gonna plant a fresh one here instead. We're gonna make this a third stage again. Or fully grown, back and forth. And then, I mean, there is like a big cedar tree that we're gonna be waiting for. We're not gonna plant any trees here, I don't think, but like keep this open for the camera. Another red flower and then maybe another brown vine somewhere towards the front here. Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna put that here for now. And Walker is running again. Oh, yes, and I also did make some changes to the platform again. It's kind of maybe coming together though. One of these trees here could also be a cedar. We'll also plant some more here. And I kind of feel like I still want to have a little bit of an area towards this side. Just a little something for them to store some tech equipment, you know? And then that same iron fencing could be used too. Why don't I already bring in, just as a reminder for myself, a camera? And then I definitely want some fence like just around the corner here, I feel like at least like this. Why don't I go and, well, first of all, plant another tree and then make sure that some of these trees are grown. Tasha is already, I cannot. Okay, yeah, cedar tree is growing. Flower. We could kind of push it in here, which I think would be good. Goodbye, weeds. Okay, so sort of like that. How do we section this part off? Do we just do that in like an open field? Do we maybe section it off with like fencing and then maybe a white one? That kind of works. Maybe just towards like the very back, the first couple of things are going to be construction scaffoldings. We can bring in a bit more of that blue. And then, oh, I do. Okay, wait, we're going to do this. We will also add a little fenced off section right here. Now let's try that construction scaffolding and then maybe just one like sideways. Oh, I kind of like that from the front here. Should we do another one? Kind of like that here. And then maybe we do 3 fences and another tree here. And then I'll do 2 more like sidewalk pieces here. Okay, and now back to trees on the other side it is. Okay, so you're gonna be a third stage and then you might just stay this way. Okay, I have 2 random items that I'm just thinking about right now. One of them is this like standing sign. And then I'm thinking about the on-air sign. The shop sign would kind of go here. And then I was thinking like the sign somehow in front of it. And then I brought some more cameras. One will go here and one for up here. Then we have the simple panel. And then here is the document stack for the scripts. And then I brought the cool low table and some effects racks. Maybe that on air sign can go on that one. Oh yeah, that also works, I think. So we're still gonna have to grow this one to full height. This one is a third stage. We could do maybe another tree standee here. This will definitely be a hardwood then. We don't have any cedars going on in the center, but I was thinking about this one being one, wasn't I? Okay, let's do that. Oh, and you know what? I think I want to bring some more stone underneath these ladders, and I will also adjust these few tiles here to the front. And thanks to the magic of post-production, we'll speed through a couple of these tree placements because all you need to know is I planted a few more small trees towards the front. The weather is definitely starting to get much worse. At 4, it'll probably start raining, which is not good for our tech equipment. Oh no. All right. I just want to include one more vine and then I think I should haul out. Oh, and with the bell, we've got the first raindrops. We should get out of the rain. This is not good. I'm kind of determined to maybe try and wrap up the tree planting. Oh, I almost forgot that tree standee. And I'll also grab some grass and hedge standees. And so after including the promised tree standee, I placed the first flag of the area. Can you believe? And I also added on some meter and pipes and utility pole. I'm not loving that this is so open, but like we've already used the tree standee like next to it. Oh yeah, no, you know what? It might be fine once the cedar is actually third stage, like this one here, because that will cover more than. Yes, exactly. That's what I wanted. So this is what we have to work with now. So now all that was left for me to do was fill the area with, well, fillers. And the first thing I did was spread around a couple of flowers. I had gotten some red ones specifically for this area, and I decided to do some flower clusters, which basically means I just planted the same type of flower in groups of 2 or 3 all across the space. And now enjoy this little filler montage. Oh, you know what I haven't used yet? You know how there's like the vine benches too? Those will be really cute here. And as I procrastinated shopping for those, I also placed a ladder and some more lights to the front. And then I did also acquire those vine benches, which actually look a little bit like a tree root. You know, at this point, I was actually so overworked that I accidentally buried a grass standee and I didn't even realize. It has been fixed in the meantime though. But then with my last brain juice gathered, I got the idea of placing the paint buckets because it kind of feels like a set designing moment of painting the vine. Okay, I kind of like that, I think. We do have another set on the agenda today, so let's go ahead and gather some stuff and get these last few bits and pieces placed. I added an iron frame to this part with some more set design vibes in this little drop pouch I found the other day. Brought in a bike, some script papers, and headphones to this part on the left. And of course, we cannot forget that director's chair, which actually almost makes this area complete. Is a good frame on framework. And then I also added the witch's hat as the Wicked reference and some more tech items to that space as well. I could also, hello Agnes, I could also, you know, just extend the iron fencing a tad further. I like it. I like it. And then I think that's enough item lag that we've got going on. This might be the area. So may I present to you the finished Wicked film set. We've got that backdrop with the scaffoldings and lights, the vine as our main focus point with tons of greenery around it, different camera setups that are sure to get the best shot, and some Wicked and set design references. I have to say, I'm quite happy with this, which means time to work on that second film set. Or actually, this all got pushed back a little bit as some complaints reached Tasha and myself, and then I first focused on including this trailer park next to the Wicked film set and this rooftop cafe on the other side of the island. But with those taken care of, time for film set number 2. It'll occupy this space on the map right next to the new trailer park, and it will not come as a surprise to anyone, I assume, as it's made multiple appearances in this film studio so far, but it will be inspired by Bridgerton. In this specific case, I would like to build up this set from Daphne and Simon's Ball in season 1. Of course, I once again prepared a little mood board for this as well, which also holds some of the items that I plan on utilizing, and I also sat down to bless you all with my incredible artistic talent and prepped another little area sketch. We may even include the museum along with 2 inclines in this build to recreate that fancy house and the scene itself, and then we will of course have that iconic dance floor and what seems to be artistically placed hedges all around it. And yet again, let's not waste any time and get started. Now this is the real estate that we have to work with, and as you can see, it's currently occupied by nature. But since I want to build up a film set here, all of this obviously has to go. So first things first, we gotta do some cleaning. I have not learned anything from last time, but of course I've got a few more golden shovels in my storage, so I can go right back to work. With everything now moved, I think the first thing I need to think about is spacing, because we don't have a lot of it, but we have a lot of things that we need to fit in. First of all, of course, if I do want to use the museum, it is 7x4 tiles. Usually this is kind of annoying to center, but this time that might just work out for me because we will actually have a middle tile. And judging from the blueprint inspiration that I have, of course, there might even be some inclines involved. So kind of like I did with the Wicked set, I might want to have another row of cliffs in the very back and only start putting in the museum in front of that. However, we might want to elevate the museum and everything. So let me put on my trusty little helmet. I got to do some counting. Okay, so let's assume this here maybe is the border. That would give me enough room to kind of stand here and have an entire picture frame filled with this film set. 17 tiles in here minus the 7 from the museum means 5 tiles on each side. So then this here would be the corner of the museum and this would be the other corner. All right, let me go get some reference structures and just swiftly carry them over to the area. Oh, I was planning on getting some construction scaffoldings. I have none of those. All right, I'll use some of these pergolas instead. Okay, so this would be the size of the museum. Okay, that could work. We can once again maybe close this off with like some fencing, etc. And then what if I actually do try and bring this up to the next cliff? I can already feel the space restrictions. All right, so that's the museum. Now we're probably gonna have to have the doorstep. And then I don't know if we could already put the inclines in here or if they need more cliff. Plus it might be nice to be able to place some things behind the museum. That means it all has to move another tile forward. And it was at this moment she knew, only she didn't know and would only realize later on. And then pretty quickly, there's not that much space left. It still feels like enough room from this perspective though. You know, I may just have to test this, so let me get the museum kit. And I also remembered to pick up an incline kit, which Tom Nook was of course very happy about. And speaking of construction, I also made sure to order some scaffoldings. All right, moment of perhaps painful truth. Yeah, the incline is definitely not going to work out if I can't place the museum itself. Okay, we will try it. This way the incline seems to work, so I will also invest those bells. Oh, actually, I don't have enough. Hold on. All right, there you go. The only thing I could do is literally move the street one tile further down. I kind of want to avoid that though. All right, not much left for me to do except go to bed. And so after a night full of rest, it was time to take a first look at the built museum and incline. What can I say? I don't even know. This might work, this might not work. I think I'll have to get that second incline. I mean, is this a good spot? We'll try. And I need to get some more money. This time around, it is suspiciously quiet, by the way. No Tasha, no Smooch and villagers, no nothing. So that leaves us with 12 spaces for the dance floor and everything else pretty much. We could argue that they just have to add everything else with like CGI in post-production. I mean, that's what I built those offices for, right? Now let's get that incline built as well. Now I'm gonna decide to go with this spacing for now and just kind of accept the restrictions. And then I think the next problem will be to find a good checkered floor print. It might make sense to have one like this that is split into the 4 tiles so that the area feels a little bit larger than it actually is. Let's kind of just look at this one. And also looking at the inspiration, it does come with this like gravel-like looking path on the outside, which makes me think that we need to equip that trusty helmet again. And then kind of spread this path all over this area. I do wish I could bring this underneath the inclines as well, but yeah, thanks to Nintendo, we do have some restrictions to work with. Now that certainly makes the map look interesting. Yeah, we are gonna need a little bit more pathing, but now to keep it symmetrical, let's perhaps leave 2 tiles and then we start the dance floor on both sides. Maybe we can imitate the shape of the dance floor sort of like this. It really does not leave me with a lot of space here. The question is, of course, also how much space do I need here? But I was thinking about perhaps planting some trees, and I can only do that on this line right there, which means I would need this amount of space. In Bridgerton, there's actually a painting of Simon and Daphne up by the staircases, which I, of course, don't have, but maybe I can just kind of fake my way with one of the museum paintings. And of course, we can always use like potted plants or something similar to kind of create the illusion of trees. I feel like we may even need all of the above. It does feel as though another tile towards the front would help, so I might have to casually move the street later on. Nothing these ball hands can handle though. So 2 trees planted, and I will definitely have to customize those topiaries. And then I actually already have the next piece of upsetting news, because in the inspiration, there is a fountain in the center of the dance floor. However, the only fountain that I can think of that is like small and looks somewhat like that is the shell fountain, which is a 1.5 by 1.5 item. And to those of you who have tried to make that one work in a symmetrical build, that is basically impossible. There actually are some more fountains around as well. Regency rich people really love their fountains, which we might be able to place just along the sides here. Now, if there's just a little bit more space in front here and I can bring in some like hedge fencing and a couple of flowers, I think that actually might work out okay. Yeah, that is exactly what I was talking about. It does also cover the painting that we've just placed, and I don't know if that is really our desired look here. Something else I saw in the picture were the pillars. Although they're kind of more on the actual like building and not really surrounding the dance floor, I thought it might be cute to kind of push them a bit more in and pretend as though they're surrounding the dance floor. Also, I do think it is time to finally grab our hedge fencing and kind of start throwing some shapes down. So I can also see whether it would be worth it to move the street. That is no easy endeavor, you know? I may have found someone who is interested in directing an episode of Bridgerton though. I'm not sure he's very enthusiastic about it, but at least he's here. That's more than can be said about all my other villagers. There's also this random snot baby that's walking around. I don't really know what their deal is. Gardening is quite obviously my passion. I think Marshall is judging me for whatever I'm trying to do with the hedges here, and I can't blame him. Let's move these a bit further back. And then in a short-lived moment of genius, I found my preferred hedge style in these cubes, I guess. Now there's part of me that kind of wants to move all of this a little bit further to the right, but the fact that I would have to tear everything down, move it somewhere else, and then bring it back up is kind of keeping me from doing that. But yeah, I think moving the street is kind of a given. Also definitely extending the dirt path by 2 more tiles. Oh yeah, Marshall still definitely giving the side eye. And losing interest. Okay, wait, I kind of want to test something. Never mind. I thought perhaps a rounded cliff with a vine, but we might just extend it and still do that anyways. Kind of gives us that like growing roses sort of vibe. All right, don't mind me quickly grabbing the tree and back down you go. All right, a little in-between progress overview. And now, before I move this entire street, I'm gonna need a break. And once my break was over, the trees were grown and another surprise awaited me. Hello. Looks like I'm not the only one liking this island. I'm sorry, studio, of course. Also, before I forget, let me try out those pillars. Actually, not too bad. I feel like we could get away with even more than that, perhaps. Lean into the symmetrical part of this, you know? Of course, I'm exactly 1 short. I was not. I just, in fact, did not see the last one in my pockets. But I think I do like this. I do want to try out a couple of different locations, though. And look who has joined us. That's the life. Oh, looks like it's back to work. Luri now also definitely interested in this set. I will say she will probably have a lot of work with this one, what with being the food stylist and everything. I'll go back to that first layout though, which is the left side here. And then unfortunately Animal Crossing does not allow me to hang candle chandeliers from the sky when you're outside, which I quite frankly find rude. But so I might just be able to help myself perhaps with either the wedding candles or these golden candlesticks. Okay, the candlesticks I think are not my favorite. I think the wedding candles will be a little bit better though. Oh, turns out I was just kind of blind because I did in fact have another pillar. Now we still got to work on the color of the topiaries as well as the fountain, and there's obviously a lot of candles missing. But what's also missing right now is the film set vibes. So I think I might want to try and bring in the first few construction scaffoldings and maybe also some stadium lights. I did leave all that space behind the museum after all, so I think we should probably utilize it. I'm once again gonna go for blue screen because it feels a little bit more like the professional choice these days. If anyone actually has any knowledge when you use green screen versus blue screen, leave it in the comments. I would love to know, but I have no idea. I mean, of course, I know exactly. I just want to, I want to test you. Now, was all that work with the cliff behind the museum and therefore the lack of space, etc., all worth it for that? Well, am I in fact thinking about putting in the work to move everything? Well, okay, before I make any rash decisions, time for my trusty helmet and some tests. I'm gonna add some cliff here and pretend as though there isn't any extra space behind the museum. So the stadium light would be here and the scaffolding would just be next to the museum. Still pretty visible, but at the same time, is this maybe ruining the vibe a little bit too much? Okay, different test. Instead of the scaffolding here, let's put a stadium light partly behind the museum. Still not sure the extra space behind the museum is needed, but I might like it a little bit better without the construction scaffoldings. Next to the museum, I actually don't like it as much. Or in this case, we could of course also go for no scaffolding and no stadium lights, or at least not directly behind the museum, and instead actually opt for some castle walls, which I do not seem to have. The day I actually have the things I need to work with in this game is gonna be the day where I have learned everything I can. We have our next director checking out the space though. I feel like this one is a promising one. And then as I procrastinated actually getting those castle walls, I contemplated a couple of other small decisions, like using a curtain partition behind the painting and therefore moving the round topiaries around, which ultimately didn't end up happening. I did, however, discover that I quite like these turkey day garden stands with the biotope planters up on the cliff by the museum, as well as placing the construction scaffolding more towards the right because it felt a little bit more intentional that way. Perhaps if I planted a tree right there, that would nicely blend those two parts together. That also gave me the idea of bringing the stadium lights even higher up. Oh, I almost missed that fountain moment, but that was epic. You know, I think I may be onto something here, but it might be time to lock in and kind of finally change a couple of things, like this fountain and these topiaries. I think I was running errands so fast, Bones could not believe his eyes. And you know what? Let's also steal a tree from somewhere else. Speaking of, I've actually thought about swapping a couple of fully grown hardwood trees with orange trees because some of you have told me that that would actually be a nice little reference to kind of the Hollywood film studios. So let me know down below if you think I should do that. There's actually no reason for me to just push these fountains half a tile further back and then therefore adjust the hedge fencing, which would give me a little bit more room towards the front. Basically, this would be the difference, and I don't have a preference. We're gonna have to do a little bit more testing. I also want to try adding the dirt path underneath the sidewalk here so that there's no grassy gap in between. And then the street would obviously also move a tile. And so with a little bit of endurance, elbow grease, and ball hand strength, I, well, more or less quickly switched all that up, which then left the space looking like this. Oh, and the map now looks like this. And of course, I do still need to make use of the space behind the museum because right now I'm not really. Also, that might be a nice spot for some stadium lights. And I think we need more up on that cliff as well. Maybe not like that. Yeah, that's better. Can I add another tree? Yeah, I guess sort of like that. And now I think I may have to get those castle walls. All right. Now, was that worth all the hassle I went through? Probably not. Yeah, having it next to the museum is basically enough. Dang. Did I then spend an unspeakable amount of time moving everything another tile further back? No, I absolutely did not. That was other Malene. That was annoying task Malene. Okay, admittedly, that did feel like I was working backwards for a little bit, but now it's time to actually make some progress again and look into the future. And in my future, I do think I see a couple more of those round topiaries right there by the museum edge. Yeah, the greenery around the museum edges is actually really nice. Now I feel like there's a little bit of a gap in between. So what if I pull these here to exactly that spot, which I guess would be sort of here? You know, I think that's actually quite good. We just need something else to hide the cliff. In the inspiration, you can kind of see these like tables on the sides for, I guess, like a food display, which I wanted to recreate using the wedding head tables, perhaps. Maybe we can use that same item here as well. And then perhaps I can also grab some lilies or maybe roses, which I, once again, do not seem to have. Okay, that order list is definitely getting longer by the minute. But if that table is there, and then let's actually try out some flowers here. Okay, that actually works better than I'd hoped. I would definitely go for some white flowers though, I think. And then obviously this front part here is still awfully open, and there's also still a lot of room in the corners in the back. I kind of want to see another stadium light and construction scaffolding, both of which I don't have, but those at least I can order. So construction scaffolding, maybe make that 2. Some stadium lights. Oh, never mind. I gotta get some money first. Okay, well, let me order the lilies at least. And here's the stadium lights. I think I'm gonna need those to continue, but before I go and sleep the night away, let me also just prep a couple of trees back here. And now let's pick up those items. Here's the lilies, here's the second stadium light, and here's maybe the construction scaffolding. It's not really my favorite, I gotta say. I will say I don't mind it towards that back left there though, especially if maybe I can bring in another tree like right there. I did also realize that I had forgotten to place the dirt path underneath all this, so I brought back my trusty helmet and promptly fixed that mistake. Maybe these two as tree spots. I think I'm gonna take another page from the Wicked film set and section off the Bridgerton film set with some fences on the side as well. Now, should I also customize these with the logo? I know, what type of question is that? Let me also plant a tree right at this corner, as well as this in the front. And then a couple of logo customizations later, this is what the set border looked like. I think I'm quite happy with that. And now let's kind of focus on those last few pieces of Regency decorations before I then go in and spread around a bunch of tech equipment. I would definitely want to include more of those wedding tables that I've kind of put at the very back here. Of course, I find myself once again exactly one of those short, but at least I would know where to place them now. Something else I'd wanted to use were the wedding flower stands, just because it does seem as though there are a ton of roses in the inspo, and along with some shrubs, I may have found a spot for them. Look at this private club again, hanging out in their secret cool outfits, question mark, on the beach without me. Sure. Now something else I'd acquired specifically for this build were some blue flowers as well, so I did also want to make sure to bring in those. And I thought perhaps somewhere close to that hedge art that I had created might be a good location. Maybe I can even utilize that 5-star flower I found earlier. Ooh, the fountain magic. I think we're almost done with the Regency decorating. Let's just get a couple more flowers and some food. And now we just have a couple of trees to grow in and bring in that expensive tech equipment. Definitely a director's chair. I'll grab a tool cart, quite a few of those studio spotlights, some effects racks, maybe also the floor monitors, and of course we need some cameras. I also did enjoy the iron frame over by the Wicked film set, and I will grab some stacked bottle crates, another on-air sign, and I will also take some cables with me. And now let's see. I think the director's chair would once again be quite good if it's noticeable towards the front, and same thing of course for the camera. Right there would probably make sense. Our iron frame maybe towards the side of the set here, and then let's bring in some bottle crates right there too. I do think we should have some lights towards the front here, and maybe we can even bring some more towards the center. I actually also just grabbed a truck because this corner here is still way too open. I didn't love the construction scaffoldings though, but maybe a nice little framework themed truck will do the trick. And I did also bring some of the fencing, which might also help us here to give it more of a closed set sort of vibe. Might take away these two pieces to give myself a little bit more room for items though. I'm also going to introduce a little sound system here towards the sides. I definitely need to find a place for the on-air sign. I'm gonna need a few more things. I want some type of low table. Oh, or the Zen bench could also work. I also want to grab some scattered papers, some document stacks, this clipboard, and these magazines. Wow. Did you see those items plop in? For my final tour of this island, I do think I'll use my Switch 2 because then it'll be hopefully lag-less, and I feel like that would be very, very cool to see for this. But for now, we gotta deal with a bit of lag. Okay, Zen bench would go here, and then maybe this would be a good moment for our backlit sign. Actually, no. Maybe this would be good for the headphones though. And some scripts. Let's swap those around. And then maybe this here could be our clipboard. I'll definitely go ahead and add some scattered papers right here. And maybe even right here too. And then we could try to bring in the on-air sign somewhat here. It will need to be placed on top of something else though. Okay, no, it's too big. It steals too much attention. Maybe we do have to bring that on-air sign over to this side once again. And then let's switch this over here to a tool cart along with that first aid kit. I'm sort of tempted to bring in a utility pole, which obviously doesn't fit the area, but it would be a very pretty like tall item here. You know what I mean? I've pushed the item boundaries as far as I can for this build, I think. There are a couple of customization opportunities though, so let me go ahead and take care of those. We've got the scattered papers here and here, the clipboard, the headphones, and of course, that truck. Also, I don't know if it's a good sign that none of my villagers are around anymore. I feel like they maybe lost interest. But I personally am quite happy with this, and I think this is it. This is film set number 2. Now, I might be biased, but I think I like this one even more than the Wicked film set, and I think it really turned out quite nice with all the tech equipment to the front as well. So for this set, we managed to include the museum with 2 inclines and that iconic dance floor from Bridgerton. We framed it with a bunch of pillars and of course fountains, because as we've established, Regency rich people do love their fountains, and you can also find those food displays. That only leaves us with 2 relatively small spaces to fill up. This part here next to the film work that we worked on today, and this adjacent part back here, which is right behind our rooftop cafe. And those 2 areas basically translate to just one more episode on framework, and also some beaches and fillers that we don't really talk about. So if you don't want to miss those, make sure you're subscribed, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone!